The chase begins for months. She had followed the human across planets, moons, and silent war-torn fields. The alien huntress was trained to track anything, beast, soldier, even shadows. But this human was something else. He left almost no signs. No digital trail. No scent. Just traces of burned campfires and small footprints that vanished into wind and dust. He didn't act like prey. He moved like someone who wanted to be found, but only when he chose. And that made her furious. She was known as one of the most skilled huntresses in the Empire. Her name made warriors freeze. But now, she was chasing a human who seemed to dance ahead of her like a ghost. She was not hunting for sport. She had orders from the High Council. Kill the human named Jalen Cross. No survivors. No mercy. The Empire feared him. He had destroyed outposts, shut down command signals, and helped prisoners escape from battle camps. And yet, no one had captured him. Some even said he wasn't real. A myth. But she had seen him once. From far away. Just a glimpse of his face under a hood. And she remembered that strange moment when he turned his head, like he knew she was watching. Her ship was small, fast, and made for solo missions. She lived on it now, eating cold packs, sleeping in armor, and staring at screens for movement. Each time she got closer, something went wrong. Her drone would crash. Her map would glitch. It felt like he was reading her mind. Still, she kept moving. The chase had become personal. She wanted to defeat him not just for her people, but for herself. To prove she was still the best. One day, on a broken mining moon, she picked up a signal. A human energy signature. Fresh. She moved quickly, her heart racing. It was a dead zone. No cameras, no patrols, no cities. Just dust and silence. Perfect for an ambush, she landed in silence. The wind howled, dry and sharp. Her boots crunched over old rocks as she moved toward the signal. She expected a trap, but what she found stopped her cold. A small fire pit, still warm. Next to it, a folded blanket. And on top of that, something she didn't expect, a handwritten note. Her fingers trembled as she picked it up. The message said only 6 words. You've gotten close. Keep coming. Her blood ran cold. He knew. He had seen her. Maybe he had seen her for weeks. Maybe he had never really been running. Maybe he was leading her. She crushed the note in her hand and growled. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. She was the hunter. She was the one who planned every step. But now, he was making her dance. She returned to her ship, angry and confused. She stared at the stars through the window. Why didn't he run farther? Why leave the note? What was he waiting for? Then she remembered something strange. Every time she caught his trail, it was near places that had once been battlefields. But when she arrived, she always found something odd: survivors, healed wounded, even food drops. It was as if he was helping people. But why would a man so dangerous care about strangers? Her orders said he was a criminal. But nothing she saw fit that. He didn't kill unless he had to. He didn't steal supplies. He didn't torture his enemies. And the worst part? She felt something she hated: curiosity. She shouldn't care who he was. She should end him. But something in his eyes, in his message, made her hesitate. For the first time in years, she felt unsure. Still, she set her path forward. The message had one meaning. He was done running. He wanted her to follow. And she would. Not because of her orders, because she needed to know what kind of human would face an empire alone and leave a trail of kindness behind. But deep down, she also feared something else. What if he was hunting her? The chase had begun. But the rules were changing, and the huntress was no longer sure she was the one in control. Asterisk hunter becomes the hunted. She had chased him through half the galaxy. But now, something had changed. The moment she found that note, everything felt different. The air felt heavier. The silence around her wasn't peaceful. It was watching her. And for the first time, the huntress felt something she had never allowed before: doubt. Her instincts whispered to her, "You are no longer alone." The human wasn't running. He was leading her, slowly, silently, pulling her deeper into his path like a spider drawing prey into its web. She wasn't the hunter anymore. She was walking into something, and she didn't know what waited at the center. Every night after that, strange things happened. Her tracker would spin wildly, showing her locations she had already passed. Her scanners showed shadows that moved like people, but disappeared when she turned. She would wake up from shallow sleep to find small marks in the dust near her ship, almost like footsteps, but lighter, quieter, measured that he was watching her, but not to kill. No shots were fired. No traps were sprung. Just presence. A silent whisper of "I see you." Once, she entered a ruined communication tower. It should have been empty, but there was a smell, warm food, a human meal pack, still fresh. No one around. Just a small carved symbol in the dust. A bird. She didn't understand it, but she felt it meant something. He wasn't warning her. He was teaching her, leaving her signs like he wanted her to follow right. Not just chase. Understand her. Anger burned. Was this a game to him? She shot into the air in rage, blasting walls, screaming into the void. "Face me, human." No answer. But far in the distance, she heard something faint. Music, soft, gentle, something old. A human melody. She followed the sound like it pulled her heart forward. Over cliffs, through dry valleys. And then the sound stopped. She stood there, alone under a dark sky. And then something moved. She turned fast. Her eyes scanned every shadow. But it was only her reflection in the water. Tired, angry, confused. She had followed prey across battlefields, asteroid belts, and burning skies, but never like this. Never with emotion in her chest. And that emotion was growing stronger every day. Not hate, curiosity, frustration. Something else she could not name. That he was not killing her. He was not hurting her. He was showing her something. But what? Back in her ship, she checked her logs. Everywhere she went, she now noticed things she hadn't before. Leftover food, healed refugees, old machines made to work again. Wherever he passed, he left help behind. Was this a warrior? Or a protector? Her leaders had told her to kill a monster. But she was starting to believe they had lied. Her hand trembled when she touched the next note. It was waiting for her in her gear bag. She never saw who left it. It said, "You're not the first to follow me, but you may be the first to understand me." She closed her eyes. Her mission was falling apart, but her heart was waking up. He wasn't afraid of her. That he wanted her to come, and she no longer knew if she was hunting a man or being changed by one. The first encounter. She had prepared herself for the kill 100 times in her mind. Every move, every strike, every word he might say before his last breath. But nothing could prepare her for the moment she finally saw him. That he wasn't hiding. He wasn't armed. He wasn't afraid. He was sitting calmly beside a fire, legs crossed, hands open on his knees, like he had been waiting for her all along. The huntress stepped out of the dark, pulse racing, heart caught between fury and confusion. Her weapon was aimed at his chest, steady and cold. But his eyes, those strange, human eyes, were soft, deep, and tired. He didn't rise. He didn't reach for a weapon. He just looked at her and said, "You took longer than I thought." She didn't answer. Her voice was locked behind her teeth. Every part of her screamed to attack, to finish the mission, to do what she was trained for. But she didn't. She couldn't. "Why?" she finally asked, her voice low and cracked. "Why did you wait?" He smiled, but there was no pride in it. Only sadness. "Because I wanted to see who they'd send after me. I hoped it would be someone who still had questions." That broke her stance. Just slightly. Enough that her finger moved off the trigger. She hated how calm he was. How quiet the night felt. She was the one in control. So why did it feel like he was leading again? He motioned to the other side of the fire. "You're tired. Sit. I won't bite." She didn't move, but her legs ached. Her back burned from days without proper rest. And for reasons she couldn't explain, she lowered her weapon and slowly Saturday the fire crackled between them. For a while, neither spoke. Then he pulled something from his pack, a metal cup. He poured a drink and gently placed it near her. Water. Clean. She stared at it like it might explode. "I don't poison people," he added. Still, she didn't touch it. He leaned back and looked up at the stars. "Your people think I'm dangerous, that I'm a threat, but I've only destroyed what was already killing others." "Like the relay station?" She snapped at. He nodded. "It was used to target civilians. I shut it down. Quietly. You should ask why your leaders never told you that." Her hands clenched. Everything she believed felt like it was cracking. She had trained her whole life to obey, to follow orders, to serve the empire. But now, sitting across from her so-called target, all she could see was a man who looked more tired than wild, more broken than dangerous. Why didn't you kill me? She asked. He looked straight at her, eyes clear. Because I don't kill people who are still deciding who they want to be. Silence fell again. For the first time, she didn't feel like a soldier. She didn't feel like a hunter. She felt lost, and he saw it that he didn't laugh. He didn't speak again. He just let the moment stretch until the cold wind carried the truth into her chest. He wasn't trying to escape. He was trying to be understood. And somehow, in the quiet crackle of firelight, she realized she wasn't here to kill him anymore. She was here to listen, breaking her beliefs. She couldn't sleep that night, not because of danger, but because of what she had seen in his eyes, peace. It didn't make sense. Peace wasn't something she was trained to understand. She had been raised in war, built for it, praised for, ending lives, not understanding them. But that human, he didn't act like an enemy. The next morning, he was already awake, sitting near the edge of the cliff, staring at the sunrise. She stood behind him, silent, watching. She could have ended it. One move, and the mission was over. But her arms felt heavy, her heart uncertain. Do you know what I learned? He said softly, still facing the sky. About your people? She didn't reply. He turned slightly, just enough to glance at her. They fear humans not because we fight too much, but because we fight for the things we love. That's harder to control. She wanted to deny it, to call him a liar. But she stayed quiet. Over the next few days, she didn't return to her ship. She followed him, just a few steps behind, watching, waiting. He helped an old refugee woman cross a broken bridge. He repaired a destroyed water pump in a burned-out village. He gave food to orphaned children hiding inside rusted cargo bays. None of it matched what the Empire told her. There was no madness, no evil, only someone trying to fix what war had broken. One night, as they rested in the ruins of a transport station, she finally asked, "Why don't you hate us?" He looked at her for a long time, then said, "Because hate makes you hollow. And I've been hollow before." Her chest tightened. "You lost someone?" He nodded. "Everyone." The silence between them wasn't cold. It was heavy with meaning. She sat down beside him, her armor creaking. "They told me you were a monster." He chuckled softly. "Then why haven't you killed me?" She had no answer. Not one she could speak. Later that night, as the wind howled outside, she looked at her reflection in the broken screen of a transport console. For the first time, she didn't see a warrior. She saw a stranger, someone confused, someone searching. She whispered to herself, "What if they lied to me?" That thought was dangerous, deadly, but it wouldn't leave her mind, because deep down, she already knew they had lied. And the man she was sent to kill might be the only one who ever told her the truth. The trap set for them, the sky above the barren plateau was quiet, but she felt the danger before she saw it. The birds had vanished. The wind carried a strange metallic scent. Her instincts screamed, "It's not safe anymore." He felt it too. "They're coming," he said, not looking. Up from the small fire he was tending, she nodded slowly. "They found us." The Empire had been watching her. She had disobeyed orders for too long. They thought she was compromised, broken. In their eyes, no true huntress would hesitate. And now, they were sending others, not to help her, but to erase them both. She stood, eyes narrowed, weapon ready. "You need to run." But he just smiled, tired and calm. "No, you need to decide." She froze. "Decide who you are and who you protect." In the distance, the shimmer of ships pierced the horizon. Imperial armor, heavy-class soldiers, the kind that didn't take prisoners. Her communicator buzzed. A message from command flashed across the cracked screen. "Target in sight. Confirm kill. Do not engage with emotion. Remember who you are." She stared at the words. Remember who you are? But that was the problem. She didn't know anymore. The man they feared was standing beside her, calm, kind, and still unarmed. The ones she served were ready to kill without speaking. She looked at him, then at the approaching troops. "I was never meant to protect anyone," she said, her voice shaking. He looked at her with something gentle in his eyes. "Maybe that's why you're the only one who can." The soldiers landed with the thunder of metal feet. Weapons raised. They saw her first and hesitated. She was their elite, their example, their perfect weapon. "Step away from the target," the lead soldier ordered. But she didn't move. "Do it, huntress," another barked. "He's manipulating you." She stepped forward, but not away from the human. In front of him, her weapon dropped to the ground. "I won't let you hurt him." Gasps. Anger. Confusion. "She's gone rogue," someone yelled. The human behind her whispered, "You don't have to do this." But she shook her head. "Yes, I do." Because for the first time in her life, she wasn't following a command. She was following her heart. The lasers were aimed. The soldiers braced. Point one wrong word, and they would open fire. But in that frozen moment, she knew something had changed forever. She wasn't a huntress anymore. She was his shield, and nothing, not orders, not fear, not the entire empire, would change that now. Asterisk escape and the storm. The moment she defied the empire, everything changed. There was no turning back. Lasers lit the sky, but she moved fast, grabbing his hand and pulling him into the canyon. Behind them, the rocks shook from explosions as they ran, hearts pounding in sync. The soldiers didn't care who she was anymore. To them, she was a traitor now. And traitors don't get second chances. They ran for hours, through burning wind and freezing dust, deeper into the dead valleys of Threvia, a cold, abandoned planet where the storms could tear steel apart. There was no time to speak, only to survive. That be why the time they reached the cave, her limbs were shaking. His breath was ragged. They had lost the soldiers, for now. But outside, dark clouds were forming. A storm was coming. Not just any storm, but a Threvian ice storm, the kind that could kill in minutes. Inside the cave, it was cold, dark, and full of broken memories from past travelers. Empty packs, rusted tools, scratched words on the wall. She lit a small fire. Her fingers trembled not from fear, but from the truth she had chosen. She had betrayed everything she was raised to believe. And she didn't regret it. He removed his coat and wrapped it around her shoulders. She tried to protest, but he simply said, "You're colder." She looked at him, this human who had been her mission, her enemy, and now her only ally in a galaxy that wanted them both dead. "Why didn't you leave me behind?" she asked. He leaned back, his face quiet, tired. "Because you stayed." She stared into the fire. "I don't even know who I am anymore." He smiled gently. "Then you're finally free to choose." Outside, the wind howled like a beast, tearing across the mountains. But inside that cave, something warm was forming. Not just safety, not just survival, connection. She had never shared food before, never spoken about her past. But that night, she told him everything. Her childhood, the brutal training, the things she had done for her people. She expected him to judge her. He didn't. He listened. That he told her about Earth, about music, about laughter, about pain, about love, and she listened. 2.as the storm screamed outside. They sat side by side, sharing quiet words like stolen stars in the dark. At some point, her head leaned against his shoulder. She didn't plan it. It just happened. And he didn't. "Move away." I in the silence between them, she whispered. "I was sent to break you." He chuckled softly. "You did. Right into your own heart." She didn't laugh. She just closed her eyes. Because in that moment, with the storm raging outside, and the fire burning low, she realized something terrifying. She wasn't falling. She had already fallen. Asterisk the taming by dawn. The storm had passed, but her old life had not returned with it. She stood at the cave entrance, staring at the cold sky, thinking of the girl she once was, the elite huntress, feared across the stars, loyal to the empire without question. That girl was gone now, left behind in the wind, buried in the snow with her old orders and broken purpose. He came to stand beside her, silent, just watching the horizon. There was no need for words. They both knew what waited beyond the mountains: warships, punishment, exile. The empire would never forgive her. And yet, she felt no fear. "Where will you go?" she asked. He looked at her with calm eyes. "Wherever there's something left to protect." She nodded slowly. "Then I'll follow." He didn't answer with words, just a small smile, the kind that said, "You're not alone anymore." They left the cave together, no longer running, no longer hunting, just walking side by side. When they reached the neutral planet of Varis Prime, a place where neither Empire nor Earth claimed rule, they were stopped by a council of alien leaders. Cold voices questioned their presence. The huntress stood tall, armor scratched and eyes fierce. "She was sent to kill you," one leader said, glaring at the human. He nodded. "Yes, and she chose not to." Another voice hissed, Why should we believe anything either of you say? Before he could speak, she stepped forward. Because I was built to obey, she said, voice strong. But he taught me to choose. I was trained to destroy, but he showed me how to protect. He is not the one who needs to prove anything. The room fell silent. They weren't expecting that. The human reached out and took her hand. Not forcefully, not as a master, but gently. As an equal, he looked at them all and said, "You tried to tame me with fear. She did it with truth." Murmurs filled the chamber. The legend of the huntress who turned and the human who changed her would spread quickly. They left the hall not as fugitives, but as symbols. The galaxy wouldn't change overnight, but they had started something. Later, in the quiet of their shared ship, she leaned against him and whispered, "So, what does that make me now?" He smiled. "Not a hunter, not a soldier." She raised an eyebrow. "Then what?" He touched her cheek gently. "Mine." And for the first time in her life, she felt peace, not because she had won, but because she had been chosen, not by force, but by heart. The huntress was tamed, not by chains, but by love.